So I hope you guys know me. If not, by the end of the semester, you definitely will be tired of me. I can guarantee it. So I'm Ian Grant, Executive Director of the Entrepreneurship Center. Welcome to our first boot camp. Really exciting. Glad you guys are here. We have 3 different presenters doing different boot camps over the course of the next 2 weeks. Today, you probably have the guru of all gurus. And I'm not saying that just because he's my boss. But Mark Saddam is the Associate Vice Provost of UNH Innovation, which is sort of the parent company that includes the Entrepreneurship Center, and came up here from University of North Carolina 6 years ago, basically to transform UNH into a leading innovation university. So this is in his wheelhouse. He was in Boston this spring. He did a similar version of this idea creation bootcamp to some 70 or 80 people down at a bio conference at the large conference center down there. So I'm going to leave it at that. Couple things, do swipe in if you haven't. I'm there. Because we're not on a Wi-Fi here, you're not going to see it right away. You're going to probably have to wait till tomorrow morning. So if you check your app, do that. By the way, has everybody downloaded the app? Okay, so strongly for those who are doing IT password, I know you're not doing it, but everyone else definitely suggest doing it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mark.
Great. How are we all doing? Good. All right, you're already participating. That's great because you're going to have to get up and talk to people. I'm not going to talk at you. I'm going to talk with you, and you're going to do the work. So, so instead of having me sit up here for 90 minutes and tell you how to do this stuff, you're going to do it yourself. So how many of you think that word is completely made up? Some of you, he's grinning. He's like, yeah, the word is total bullshit, right? It is. It's actually, so, you know, so somebody eventually came up with the phrase, you try to develop products, you try to develop ideas, but somebody eventually said, we should have a word for how you develop an idea, not actually execute it, but develop it. And so they made up a word, they called it ideation. What we're gonna do today is so if you came in here thinking, I have this super hot idea that I wanna bring forward, chances are we're not gonna work on it. So I just wanna get that out of the way. If you feel like you have to get up and leave because you're disappointed already, that's perfectly fine. What I wanna do is walk you through how you think about an idea, how you think about a problem, and how you think about whether that problem is worth solving. The reason why I'm not saying work on your own ideas is because, like Gollum with the ring, they're too precious to you. So if you're focused on your idea, you're not going to be necessarily open to the ideas that are happening around you or to other people's feedback, because you'll just tell people you don't understand what I mean, when maybe they do and the idea isn't very good. So we're going to work on sort of more generic stuff and walk you through the process of how to think and do the particular ideas. So like Ian said, I do a little bit of this. Most of the slides you saw were started by a friend of mine at California. It's the California State University system. But we did this training at the bio conference. Any life sciences folks here? So what's your major?
I'm a nutrition and wellness major with a dual major in eco-gastronomy.
Okay, awesome. No one else life sciences? All right, so where we presented this was at the Bio International Conference, which is the world's largest conference for biotechnology and the pharmaceutical industry. So what I'm doing is adopting this stuff where we did 3 days from PhDs from all around the country. We brought them to bio and we had them do these exercises. So what I've tried to do is condense a 3-day course into 90-ish minutes for you to try to adapt it for the environment you're in. So just to give you, so this has been tested at least a little bit for you. So anybody heard of the concept of design thinking? All right, what do you think design thinking? Oh, what do you think design thinking is? Sorry.
Design thinking. If I had to describe it, I would say like thinking about when you look at things and you interact with things, thinking about design and open to it, conscientious of like how things are designed and how you design better.
Okay. Yep. Anybody else heard the concept? Okay. So yeah, partially. Right? So it's the thought that you have to consider, I mean, of many definitions of design thinking, and if you're in business school, you'll find out that every 3 years, everybody renames everything so they can have a book. So it's the concept of not just building a product and saying, here world, here's my product. It's actually thinking about what the world wants and needs and giving them the things they want and need in the format they're ready to accept them in. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're developing new products is you assume, and don't take this personally. Everybody's done this. I did this. I spent $3 million of venture capitalist money doing this. We didn't give it back to them. is you build something because you have this great idea and you build and create it and you deliver it to market and no one cares. Billions and billions of dollars are wasted every year by people who do exactly that. So what design thinking really is this human-centered approach. It's you come up with the problem, you don't get wedded to your solution, but you start to ask the world, what do you think about the concept? Because again, when you start, if you have your idea, what you usually do to someone is say, oh, do you like my idea? You know, and most people are unfailingly polite, and they'll say, I'm sure. You know, they don't mean it. They'll lie to you because they just don't want you. If they say no, you're like, why not, right? So asking someone whether they do or don't like something is a really bad idea. There's a book we use in our I-Core course, which takes this and spreads it out over 6 to 8 weeks, called the Mom Test. And the Mom Test is all about, you know, ask a question that even your mother effectively couldn't escape answering truthfully. So if you ask your mom whether she likes you, she's going to say yes, whether she does or not, right? But you have to ask people questions in a format that they can answer you without being polite. So again, the questions of I like. So in design thinking, you try to do a lot of brainstorming and a lot of stretching of the concept. So you don't get wedded to an individual concept, you get to conceits, and you try to get more people's opinions than fewer. When doing this, and when we get to the point where we're going to break into groups later, when I force you to break into groups, I am going to try to break you into groups that are diverse as far as I can tell. It means diverse by gender, diverse by ethnicity, diverse by any other measure that usually some discipline. So I asked about the biotech thing, but I'll also ask about whose majors there are. You do not want to do this process in a group of people who look and sound and feel just like you do. Because I teach a lot of engineers. All engineers treat things very similarly. It's like a solution. There's an equation that needs to be solved, and gosh darn it, they're going to solve that equation, right? When you get an engineer with a life scientist, with a humanist, with an artist, with people of different backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, what you get are everyone's solution or everyone's approach to the problem, not just yours. So we see this a lot. I used to teach a class in engineering, which is still there. It's Tech 750 if any of you want to take it. And you know, when students come up with problems, they say, oh, I have this problem, so I'm going to solve my problem, and I wonder if anyone cares. Instead of saying first, am I the only person that has this problem? And what's my bias when I come to the room with that particular problem? So the concept of design thinking is that multiple opinions are better than yours. That effectively, for those of you who are scientists, an N of 30 is way better than an N of 2. And that you should be seeking out all these different opinions and not lock down into the thing that you want to do. So we're going to start with defining some problems. So we're already in the phase where I'm almost done talking to you for a minute. We're going to try to get to some problems. Now, we're going to explore first the problem and then potential solutions to the problem. So I'm going to say that again. First problems, then solutions. So I don't want you to tell me, I want to do this. I want you to say, this is the problem that I'm interested in solving. So if you came in the room thinking I have a really great idea, I want you to take back a step and say, what is the solution? What is the problem to which this idea is intended to solve? You'll get it wrong, it's okay. That's why we're here, to sort of stretch the boundaries. So what I want you to do now is first we're going to say, I want you to each, I think it's the next slide. Sorry, here. So I want you to think about any particular problem that you want to solve. Now let me pass these out, at least get to a table. You can split them in half, it's fine. And what I want everybody to do, maybe want a table. I forget how many tables we have. Here, heads up, in the back. Perfect, and there you go. Great. Okay, so that's 2 fumbles, 2 receptions, about 15 yards. We're good. All right, so what I want you to start, it's behind you. All right, so what I want you to start doing is for the next 5 minutes, I want you each to get pens. We have pens up here if you didn't come up with a pen. I don't want you to talk, I mean, you're welcome to have a nice chat about the Celtics or whatever, But I want you to take that Post-it, and I want you in the next 5 minutes to write down problems that you think are interesting to solve. So it can be as you know, right, like, how the hell do I do that, right? So it can be as big of a concept as global health. I would ask that you go a little deeper than global health, but you know, food insecurity. So whatever it is you want to be, it can be a problem on any particular vector. It doesn't really matter. Write down as many of them as you can think of. You can think of societal problems. You can think of personal problems. You can think of technology problems. Doesn't matter. I don't want solutions. I want problems. What I like to tell people in this process before I get you started, I am being recorded, so I apologize, is think about things that piss you off. Think about things that upset you. Like, everyone has gone through a week and be like, why isn't this different? Whatever it is. Think about those things first. Think about the last 5 times that you got upset because the world didn't have something that you desperately wanted it to have. Start there, okay? So you got 5 minutes, just start writing down. Think about a little, so you got a big picture problem, then try to drill down to a specific example of that problem. You had animal testing. Okay, animal testing itself isn't a problem. You might have an issue with animal testing, which is perfectly fine. What is the thing? What is the actual problem? Like, give a little more detail, go down one more layer. Okay. You can say, we should not test drugs on animals. We should not test cosmetics on animals. Or, you know, animal testing in cosmetics is wrong. My current problem is every time I eat pizza, some of it winds up on my shirt. So, how would you solve it? Okay, stop. All right, we're gonna go around really quickly to, I want everybody in the room, look at the things that you said. I just want you to shout it out. I'm not gonna say anything. Just give me one of the things that you started with. So I can't see your name, so. Jennifer, which do you prefer? Jennifer, just one of the ideas. Shouldn't use animals to test drugs or cosmetics. I wonder where she got that from. Next. That was her idea. Okay.
UNH parking.
UNH parking, okay. Too much, too little? Because parking isn't a problem. I can park. Too expensive, okay. So get more specific a little bit.
For-profit prisons.
Is a problem. Okay.
I said doing well, or just like the current education system.
Okay. Be a little more specific.
Sure. So basically saying that doing good in school doesn't equal success, and doing good in school also doesn't equal independent thinking.
Well said. All right.
I said better Wi-Fi / Ethernet use at UNH or anywhere.
Okay.
Easier recycling or reducing plastic waste.
Okay.
Losing everyday things like components, keys.
Got it.
Puddles are too deep, so when you step in them, you go left.
Okay. I like it. Okay.
Distracted driving.
Okay.
Assessing student debt. Procrastinating on homework. Buying textbooks and not using them.
Okay.
Concussions in sports.
Students not getting involved in the creation of their culture.
Dogs being left in hot doors.
Okay.
Kids making your phone slower.
Okay. Yeah, it's great. I was just like that. What for dogs and cars to update some phones. So.
Phones that aren't waterproof.
Okay.
Homelessness.
Mm-hmm.
CDs are too noisy.
What's too noisy?
CDs.
CDs.
CD streets.
Okay.
The use of chattel slavery in the production of cocoa, especially in Ghana, because that's where my parents were born.
Very specific problem. Good.
Food insecurity.
Food insecurity. Okay. Last one. I got yours right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So first off, right, you've got problems. This is not I speak from the brainstem. Nothing is nothing personal. I'm very direct in these things. So if whatever comes out of my mouth, it's not about you. It's about the process. So don't feel bad. All right. So we have problems from the mundane to the specific, from the giant to the small. And that's so when I said pick a problem, you all went all over the spectrum to pick that problem. That's part of the thought is you may be sitting here and saying, well, I've never really thought about production of cocoa in Ghana and what that means, right? But now you have a little bit of awareness to it. Okay, around the room there are 3 white pads up against the wall. They are titled Personal, Societal, and technology. So now I want you to take all of your ideas, and I want you to go around the room and stick them up on one of those 3 categories. Just take a couple minutes wherever you think they belong. If you feel like they belong in more than one category and you have the patience to do so, grab a Post-it, write it down, duplicate it, stick it up there. Okay, so I mean, you're allowed to sit for about another 10 seconds, especially if you're eating. All right, we're just going to go around the room. We're going to count. We're going to do the old schoolyard. We're going to count by 3s. So just if I point to you, we're going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Don't ask which number's next because we restart at 3. So you're 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1 behind. You're 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Oh, wow. I didn't even know. Divisible by 3. Everybody been picked. All right. Societal is 1, personal is 2, technology is 3. Split accordingly. Once you've met your new friends, what I want you to do is take about the next 5 to 7 minutes, and I want you to look at the ideas, and I want you to start to bunch, or the problems, and I want you to start to bunch them a little bit. So, or do you have commonalities? Are there things that are duplicates? So what you should see, eventually somewhere here, there's a picture of it, kind of like that. You don't worry about the colors. But so if you've got 5 people that are saying, using animals to test things, it's all variations of those. Bunch those together as a single idea. So effectively, look at all the ideas, read them, and start putting them in categories. Just give enough separation. If an idea stands on its own, that's perfectly fine. If all the ideas stand on their own, that's perfectly fine. Look for patterns, look for similarities. All right, you got 5 to 7 minutes. Okay, so you all now have ideas. So a lot of this stuff, and I've talked to 2 of the 3 groups, is these breaks are artificial. I just wanted to be able to find a way to categorize the ideas in 3 different places. So it doesn't matter whether you're standing next to your idea or not. It doesn't matter if you look at the thing in front of you and you think all these ideas are silly. We are not today trying to save the world. What we're trying to do today is to figure out how to get to the nut of an idea. Okay, now what I want you to do is everybody grab your pen, and I want you to first, I'm going to ask you to do this in the groupings. You each get, sorry, don't say 3 votes. So for a moment, you each get 1 vote. So pick the specific categories, bunches of ideas, and you're going to vote on the one that you think is the most interesting or the most worthy of solving today. Don't think too hard. Do your own, we'll rotate, and so you're going to have other people voting on the ideas that are in front of you too, so you're going to switch to all these things. Rotate, so you guys go there, you guys come here, yeah, you there, technology over here. Same thing, read the groupings, 1 vote per space, 1 vote for personal, 1 vote for societal, 1 vote for technology. Okay, everybody done their part. So you've checked all this stuff. Great. Okay, up here. So I want you to count up the votes, see which one had the most votes. And then I'm going to ask each group whether so part of what we wanted to do, you all go in, you group things together. In your group, you say, oh, these are the most interesting ideas. But then we took 2 other sets of people that had no idea what was even on your board and put them behind you and let them vote. So what you've had already is 3 separate groups of people. You don't appreciate how much you learn in 3 minutes about somebody. But now I've moved you around so that other people have a chance who weren't responsible for putting them on the board, who weren't responsible for grouping them, who were just responsible for looking at stuff, who didn't really have a chance to talk about it, to vote on their best ideas. So I'm going to start over here with the social societal group. So what concept got the greatest number of votes?
College is too expensive.
Price of higher education. OK. Was that the one that had the most votes when you left?
No.
What was the one that had the most votes when you left?
I think it was mental health.
Mental health.
I think it was the food.
What was that?
I think it was food.
Food insecurity, kind of general concept?
Food issues.
Food issues around food, we'll just say. OK. So right there, you left, you thought, oh, clearly this is going to be the winner, and it wasn't, right? All right, back there. So what had the best idea? Best problem?
Transportation and distracted driving. Things like
OK.
that.
Was that what was when you left?
No, it was more around technology, Wi-Fi,
OK.
things like that.
How about you? Same question. So what won, and where did you start?
I think student debt was the winner. I want to say what traffic. Traffic was, that's what we love.
OK. So here we have student debt. There we have student debt. And there we have traffic.
Yeah.
OK. So I'm going to ask you all to switch to the next one down what you have. So whatever got the next number of votes, just because I don't want 40 people working on student debt. You all eventually have to work on it, but it's a different question. All right, so what would be the next one down?
Mental health.
Mental health. OK, great. So now you've split those categories. Whether you like it or not, we're in the home stretch. So you're going to work on concepts on mental health. You're going to work on concepts of distracted driving. You're going to work on concepts of student debt. Now what I want you to do is you can effectively take all the other Post-its on all the other ideas and move them away. And I want you to take those concepts and start to brainstorm. So we've picked 3 big areas. Now your job is to try to think about solutions. So we've picked 3 important areas. I could argue that you picked some of the most important areas in America. And so now what you have to do is take these same Post-its. You can sort of move them all around what you want. So sit in a couple of tables. So you'll each group into, so you're going to stay in these groups. And then I want you to just write down, each of you, 20 solutions. Right? For each person, I want you to write 20 ideas. All right? So you can take those down and throw them out. That's fine. We should have enough Post-its for everybody.
So there's no scribe, you just write down your own
Just
ideas.
write down your own ideas. We're going to ask you to write down 20 to 30 ideas in, I'm going to say, 15 minutes. So you have it. So here's the trick, right? Don't overthink it. You are not responsible for cleaning up the world's plastic in the oceans. There's actually somebody already doing that this week. You just have to sit there, pick your topic, and just start writing solution. Like, this is a problem. This is a solution to this problem. And just write. Don't think, just write.
General topic or the specific topics like within that category?
The general topic. So like, how would you solve student debt, right? So the trick is, don't think, just write. Just write. You should be writing and smacking the Post-its down and writing and smacking the Post-its down. You've got these 3 big topics. I want you to write ideas that you think will solve or work on that particular topic. No idea is too crazy. You will not be judged on what you write. So I don't care if you say, ask Martians to come down and help us with distracted driving. Just do it. Yep, yeah. All right, I want everybody good, just 30 seconds and you can go back. The next thing you write down, I want it to be sarcastically terrible. I want it to be something that you never could happen. It could be immoral, it can be unethical, I don't really care. I want you to write a solution to your problem that has no chance in the entire universe of being successful. There are no rules. Please refrain from foul language, but I want you to think about the idea and say, well, this is one crazy way to solve it. And then the trick is we'll try to pick out what the bad idea is. You'd be amazed at how many times I do this and somebody thinks the crazy idea is the good idea. So just release, go to the other side. To give you a hint, I did this in London a couple of months ago, and the idea was student debt, and somebody said, abolish college. There, you solve the student debt problem, there's no college anymore, you don't get to go. Solved, right? Crazy. You should be over there. You should make yourself uncomfortable with what you write. The other one we did was we were trying to figure out how to make more faculty commercialize ideas. And one of the ideas was abolish all faculty and just have the students run the show and come up with their own ideas. One was abolish the faculty and just hand universities over to companies, and we'd be fine. So you should be all the way over there. Okay, all right. So just quickly around the room, I'm gonna just go around and I want you to, well, I'll give you 15 seconds to count up how many things that you wrote down. Just count your Post-its real quick. All right, we're gonna start over here. How many you got? 13. 7? Okay. 10. 10?
15. 6.
On how many Post-its? No, I'm just kidding.
6.
All right.
14.
Okay.
16.
All right.
13.
19.
14. 16. 17.
16.
21.
13.
13.
21.
All right. 15. Okay. That was like 50. Wow. 15.
24.
24.
13.
13. All right, good. So I'm going to pick on you in the back. So you had 6, right? Again, stop it. You see her? She's like, oh, it was me. So what about, be honest, right? So what about this? You got to 6. What was hard? What was challenging about it for you? I'm not saying that it was hard. I'm saying when you were going through the process, you got to 6 and you couldn't get to more than 6. Or just walk me through how you wrote down your ideas.
Well, I just blanked out.
Loud.
I blanked out. So
Okay.
Not the ideas, like they weren't going.
Okay.
I only had Post-its.
Ran out of I knew someone was going to blame not enough Post-its for coming up with that. So when your mind went, so just walk, I mean, again, just be honest about it. Because I've done, like, I work with technology all day. For the last 25 years, I've worked with early stage technologies. And sometimes I look at this thing, I look at a piece of technology and say, I don't know. I don't understand. I have done the blank slate. So when you hit that wall, when your mind goes blank, what's your response?
Start thinking, I don't know.
No, but like, so do you say, oh, I can't do this? Or do you, just walk me through how you, what your thought process is when you run out of ideas.
Kind of bring it back.
Okay. Try to refine the idea that you already had, see if you can squeeze something out. When I said, I want you to think about a crazy idea, go the opposite way, immoral, unethical, whatever, how did you respond to that?
Well, then I started having ridiculous ideas.
Did you write any of them down?
I did write a few, but then.
Okay, ooh, stop. You wrote a few. Did you write them all down? The answer is no. All right, so why didn't you write them down?
I ran out of Post-its.
Okay, come on. Here. I want you to write them all down in big giant letters. No, seriously, so why didn't you write them down? This is important. You just said, you self-regulated, right? You said, that idea is too crazy, I'm not writing it down. That idea is too crazy, I don't want anyone else to see it, right? Why did you choose to write some down and not others?
Well, I was writing one down, and then I didn't know where I was going with it.
Okay.
So I scrapped it.
Okay, stop, right? That's a lot of people do that. Don't know where I'm going, so I'm going to go in a different direction. This process is about freeing your mind a little bit and opening up to, I don't know where that's going. What people naturally do when they don't know where something is going is they say, I don't see where it's going, so I'm stopping, right? Like, I'm not picking on you. I've done this too. Like, you stop, you crumple the piece of paper up, you throw it out. There are at least 2 or 3 not pieces of pizza on that piece of paper that I saw being crumpled up and thrown, right? But the question is why? Why? Why did you crumple up your, I'm done picking on you, I know. It's all right? It's fine. Why did you crumple up your ideas and throw them out?
I started writing it and I didn't remember what it was.
Okay, that's one answer. Any of them you just didn't like? Okay. So I want you to be absolutely, totally, brutally, truthfully honest, not to me, but to you, and raise your hands and say that I want to know how many people had an idea that they didn't want to write down. Right. Okay. Now, what were the rules? You're all students, so you know what the rules are. There's no syllabus, so you can't say I didn't give it to you on the syllabus. Right? The rules were, there are no bad ideas, capture anything and everything that comes to mind. And yet you didn't. Why? Why didn't you write everything down? You raised your hand, I think.
Some felt like it was already created.
Okay.
Political correct.
Yeah, political correctness.
Political correctness. Yeah. Go ahead.
Some stuff just felt like repetition of other ideas.
Okay.
Maybe like some of the ideas I thought were kind of like offensive and kind of harsh.
Okay.
Like possibly going to offend people.
Okay. But then I told you to do immoral and unethical things. You had permission, yet you self-regulated. Right? You just couldn't do it, right? Okay. Okay. Anybody in the middle? Did you not write an idea down?
Yeah.
So why?
Yeah, good question. I guess I just didn't like it.
Okay. So what you hear in the room is what people think and don't say. I didn't like my idea. I'm afraid somebody else didn't like my idea. I didn't know what to say. I couldn't articulate it well. It wasn't well formed. You know, all these things of this idea didn't come out perfect, right? Now, you're not running a company. This is not a test. You are not graded. Yet in your minds, you're saying this idea is not good enough, right? The first step of this process is to stop doing that. But I've done this in companies, and folks that have 20 years of experience in product development do the exact same thing you do. They behave exactly the same we do. Everybody does that. That's the point. The creativity comes from when you bust through that into the next step. Because you say it wasn't, you thought it was derivative, right? Right? Well, you know, this thing was derivative of a flip phone. It's still a phone, made phone calls. I could text on it. In some ways, it was derivative of the landline, which none of you are old enough to probably have ever used, but I'm old enough, right? If the object was to have a phone, first we had a phone. Well, first you had the ringy thing. And then somebody said, well, you know, that's annoying. Well, let's put some numbers on it because we didn't want to have to call somebody. What if they weren't there? So let's press the numbers. And then that wasn't good enough. And then we decided, well, maybe we can have, well, first it was dial, and then it was push button, and then it became mobile and gigantic. Watch Back to the Future. Gigantic phone. Then it became smaller and a flip phone. Then it became a smartphone. These are all derivative products, right? You are not smart enough. No one is smart enough to know what's next. Derivative is fine. In fact, there's an argument right now in technology that most businesses they don't do innovation, they do incremental improvement. So everyone's waiting for this next, like, who's going to create the next iPhone? Who's going to create the next laptop computer? Who's going to create the next Uber? Whatever. Those ideas are so rare that you probably won't come up with it. I hope you do, but you probably won't. Trillions of dollars have been created by somebody saying, oh, that's a pretty good idea. I think I could tweak it 3% and make something a little more useful. There's nothing wrong with that. So even when you think that you're going down that path of, well, I said the same thing, you try to say the same thing 3, 4, 5, 10 different ways, because it might be the 20th or 30th or 50th iteration of what you're trying to do. That's the one that all of a sudden makes sense. So one of the things I tell folks all the time, again, big companies, universities, governments sometimes, students, is do not self-limit. It's the biggest mistake humans make. Say, I can't, I don't think, I'm not sure, I don't want to. Don't do it. Walk yourself through the step. If you feel uncomfortable, you're doing it right. You should be unsure, because if you're not unsure, you're not taking enough risk. You're not solving an important enough problem if you feel like, totally, I could do this right tomorrow. Because if you were solving that problem, first of all, I dare you to try, because you probably couldn't solve it tomorrow. But it means that you're not far enough out beyond your comfort zone to challenge yourself with the idea. Okay? So now what we're going to do, you have all of these ideas. I want your groups to, I want you to switch. So rotate around the room that way. No, I'm sorry, wrong, scratch that, reverse it. I want you to take the ideas that you have in front of you in the societal, technology, and personal. First, I want you to stick all of your Post-its up there as best you can, right? Feel free to use the space around. So just get them up there. And then I want you to, again, bunch them into subunits. So we're looking for patterns of things. That should take about 10 minutes, okay? First, get them up there. Don't try to put them up in bunches first. Just stick them on, and then build patterns out of it. Yep, that's what it's about. It's going fast. All right, you have 2 minutes and 30 seconds to pick a category that you want to continue to work on. Go. Action, category, whatever it is. You don't have to pick an idea yet. Just pick a subunit that you want to look at. All right, hands up, hands off the wheel. Okay, so now I'm gonna pause here and ask a couple of different questions. And again, if you haven't figured out the role of brutal honesty today, you now will. So I want to go through the decision-making process. Has all three picked a category, like a general area? Okay. Now I want to step back from the idea for about 2 or 3 minutes, and I want to talk about your decision-making process. So I want somebody from this group over here, in 30 seconds, describe how you walked through the idea. I mean, describe how you walked through this process of just getting to here in 2.5 minutes. What did you do?
So how would I pick
Yeah, just what was the group dynamic? Who led?
I'd say she led.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd definitely say she led.
Okay, did you lead by default or did you step in?
I just happened to step in. I saw the Post-it notes and I was like, which ones were like close together? Like if some were inhumane, I just placed them here. Some were mainly about action, I placed them here. Some
Okay.
were education, I placed them here.
And did you all, when she walked in, were you all like, cool, somebody's taking the lead here?
Or I mean, we assisted when we needed, but it was like, especially like in the dynamic of like having this on the wall, like too many hands in the pot's a problem.
Okay,
So,
I want you to stop there.
Sure.
How'd you guys do?
Good.
Not good. How did you do it? Then I have to ask everybody if they thought it was good, and then you might be sad, right? So how did the process work for you? Do we have like one person who decided that they were going to be the people to lead the discussion?
Basically, like who was closer to the wall.
Okay. So that's actually a valid point, right? So you were farthest away from the wall. Did you feel included in the process?
I mean, I can't see them at all. Like I have really bad eyesight. So
Okay,
like,
okay. We don't do excuses here. What do you do when you have bad eyesight and something's written down? Do we move closer to the things?
Yeah.
Okay. Why didn't you move closer?
Because there's people on the line.
Okay, but why didn't you step in? I mean, don't take it personally. Why didn't you step in the middle of that thing and say, I don't even know what we're talking about because I can't see anything because I have my glasses on? Or I didn't feel like it.
Well, because I can hear what they're saying.
Okay, but did you, and again, I'm being very pointed, this is not bad or good, I just did you feel included in the process? Or were you just like, whatever they do is cool?
Well, there wasn't anything I disagreed with. So
Okay,
yeah.
different though. I didn't disagree with it, but did you agree with any of it?
For the most part.
Okay, how about you?
Yeah, I agree most part. I mean, I was up there doing the posts.
Doing the movement?
Yeah, it's kind of leading.
I'm going to ask everybody the same question. So, and I'm serious, if what we're trying to figure out, what I'm trying to get through is when you're doing ideas and you're pulling through these things, there is a group dynamic that you have to think about. and each one of your groups behaved very differently. I observed it, and I'm kind of curious if you observed it. So, what do you?
I mean, we were like in there for a little bit, like helping pick out some.
Yep.
And then after like the main groups were formed, I just kind of like stepped back. And
Okay. So why?
Everyone.
Yep.
Because
Okay.
we don't need everyone just being like, we need all these here. Like, I don't know, I trusted them to put them in the right
Okay.
things.
I would say I agree with the one that we chose because we chose one from like the biggest bunch.
Uh-huh.
And then we narrowed it down and it feels like a topic that we could do a lot with.
Okay.
I agreed with our decision. I was helping move stuff around. I think we picked a good one.
Okay. Okay. How about over here? How did you come up with, who created, because remember I didn't tell you what the process was. It just to do things in groups, right? So how did you come up with the person who's going to start leading the discussion? Because obviously you can't have 14 or 16 hands on the board. You can't have all your voices all at once. So how did that work?
We all started moving things silently for a little bit.
Okay.
At the beginning, and kind of made like 2 halves, I guess. Like
Uh-huh.
We made big groups of similar areas, and then we started to get more specific.
Okay. So was there a lot of conversation on that? Or were you all sort of moving the pieces around?
Working independently in the beginning.
Okay. When did it change? Or did it ever change?
Sort of when the groups became more defined, we had a concrete place to put things.
Okay, once that happened, what happened next? So now all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 or 6 categories, and what did you do? Did everyone immediately jump to something, or what happened next?
In terms of like picking which one we wanted?
Yes.
Yeah, so then we were pretty much, because it was pretty much whoever was kind of in front, we just kept passing back and forth different Post-its.
Uh-huh.
When it came down to kind of narrowing down one specific one, I think we just kind of did a group vote, and so it was just like yes or no, we just kind of did tallies.
Okay. Okay. Did everyone in this group feel you were included in the process of making decisions, that your voices were heard? You were sitting on the side a little bit, so.
Yeah, I did not voice, but I agreed with what they were doing.
But why didn't you give your voice?
Because I agreed with everything they were doing.
Okay. So I'm going to stop you there. Nothing right or wrong. How would you know that he agreed or disagreed? How many of you have been in a room with someone who doesn't say anything, and it turns out they were super pissed off the whole time? Like all of you, right? Maybe you, probably you, right? So what I noticed in the group dynamics is really interesting. Again, there's no right or wrong. Here you had your voice shot out, like I could hear you instantly, like I see it, and everybody kind of jumped in, and you had, I would say, sort of enthusiastic leadership, and people were like, cool, somebody's into the mode. You all were a little more silent, and you had a couple people, whether you were closest or not, or turned around, right? And then a lot of you were just sort of doing this, like waiting to see what happened, right? You all were really quiet. And so the sharing of stuff was really quiet. And even when you sort of got to a solution, I didn't know that you'd actually talked, because you all were too loud. No. So what I'm trying to get at, when you do this stuff, right? Anytime you work in a work environment, you're sharing ideas, you're trying to come up with something, there are dominant voices. There are passive voices. There are people who are all in and don't need to say anything. There are people who are all out and don't need to say anything. What I didn't see, and you frequently don't see in these group dynamics, is somebody walking around going, are you good, 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 are you good? Like, what I didn't see anybody do, and I'm not saying you didn't do it, what I didn't see anybody do is checking in and making sure everybody felt like they contributed, everybody was okay with the decision, that there was like, and by the way, this happens a lot in Fortune 100 companies. It's like, everybody kind of sits there and goes, yeah, all right. And you just like wander on, right? Nobody's really enthusiastic. Again, you may love what you're working on right now. But decisions get made often by simply, one of you over here said, I didn't disagree, right? That was you, right? I don't disagree with that gives you the option to dislike it at a future date. That's also called mid-level management in companies. It's like, I don't disagree with that, but I will blame you if it fails later. So the point I'm trying to get across is when you do this in a group dynamic, whether it's in your study group, whether when you go out into a company, is really try to pay attention to body language, to whether people are involved and engaged, how they respond. And again, I'm not picking on anybody. I'm going to make observations. So your name, I'm sorry, I keep pointing. Caitlin. So Caitlin was like this, right? So, and I pay attention probably too much to body language. So you were doing this while they were talking. It may be your affect, it's fine, okay? You were doing this. Right, which to me says, which is why I was picking on you, says like, nah, I don't really care. Whatever's good. Which may, again, perfectly fine. You had your back to your group, and you did. Now again, don't take it bad. You were like this. You know, kind of looking around, right? Those are signals that for somebody else in the room, if you're really attuned to the personalities around the room, those are signals to say, buddy, come on, what are you doing? Bring you back in the room. Not, again, you're not doing anything bad, but somebody in the group could say, I want you to be an active part of this process. Because part of what I'm trying to get across to you is everybody's voice matters. And that the power of the 7 of you or 8 of you or 9 of you together on an idea is way better than one. What you see happen a lot, again, huge companies, universities all across the board, is you'll see one dominant voice and everybody else kind of goes, well, I don't really feel like spending that much energy, so I'll go along with that. And that's how bad decisions get made, right? Okay, what I want you to do the next 3 minutes, so you each have a category, you've sort of sub-selected out one thing. In 3 minutes, I want you to pick the 3 most interesting ideas that are in that category. Okay, so you're back in the group, go. All right, stop. Stop where you are. Don't try to get one last thing done. All right. Really quick observations. Ian, what did I say to you 10 seconds into the discussion?
Volume up tenfold.
Yep. Volume of the room went up by about tenfold. You were talking to each other. In the first one, someone was leading and it was like, ah. In this one, it was instant. Like you turned to the group and the conversation went up. You were talking, which is good. Group dynamic, you all wound up into effectively semicircles. Instead of people being closed off in one form or another. You were looking at each other, really important. I actually, and this is just, we all have unique skills. I can follow 3 conversations at once, and I heard different voices. Like, I don't know who it was, but I heard different voices in each group. Different people were talking. Really good. Right, so what I did, and I did it intentionally, was I gave you the permission to have a conversation with each other. When you're in groups and you're working on projects, you have to set the ground rules up front. Not like this is the only way that we're going to do stuff. But it doesn't have to be complex. It just has to be like, want to make sure everybody's contributing, want to make sure everybody's having a good time, that we're all involved in this, that everybody's participating. I gave you the permission to do what comes naturally. You're in an environment that you're uncomfortable with. You don't know what to do. Some of you are still wondering if you've done it right. So I was able to give you the permission to do it, and instantly you behaved like people do when they feel comfortable in the environment. Great. Do we each have 3 ideas? Okay. So what are your 3?
We have seek out communities, meditate or pray, and don't talk to anyone about issues regarding depression or anxiety. We chose 2 of them, don't talk to anyone, and seek out communities, because they're kind of like polar opposites.
Okay.
One is mainly about isolation, the other one is about community. And meditation or pray, it's like you are alone, but you're not doing anything to get rid of anxiety or depression.
Okay. Okay. What are your 3?
We have a radio that's voice activated, sensors on your steering wheel that monitor your driving and when you're distracted and how much you're distracted and stuff like that, and then the sensor that monitors your eyes and how much they're on and off the road.
Okay.
Off the road.
How about you?
First was to make college into 3 years versus 4 years.
Okay.
Second was to kind of transition into like strictly online learning, where obviously kids don't have to come to school. And then lastly was to kind of segue into like trade schools or like community colleges to make it more attractive for students to go there.
Okay. All right. So you each have 3 ideas. You're in the general category. Now in 1 minute, I want you to pick 1. All right? Go. Okay. Your minute is up. Hands up. All right, what do we have? Did you pick one? All right, what do you got? Up in the back. What do you have?
We did 3 years versus 4 years.
3 years versus 4 years for get your degree. All right, what do you have?
Go with the steering wheel.
You're gonna go with the steering wheel. All right.
We were split. So we were discussing either meditation or pray and seek out communities. We were kind of split.
Okay, well, you have exactly 10 seconds to figure it out. You can vote. I don't care. 10 seconds. Look at that. See, I gave them 10 seconds. They did it in 4. Nice job. All right. So what topic are you doing?
Meditate or pray.
Okay, great. Now, we spent all that time narrowing down ideas, right? Now we're going the other way. So we're going to do what's called a stoke. I think this is super fun. So what a stoke is you each now you are wedded to one idea, whether you like it or not, is what you got. All right? The idea of the stoke is we're going to take your idea and now we're going to expand it out the other way. So we did all this stuff to narrow down to something interesting. Now we're going to do what I affectionately refer to as pulling the taffy. We're going to take your idea and we are going to pull it as many ways as we possibly can. So we're going to go back to crazy, back to all sorts, but it's guided, okay? What I want you to do is I want you to apply these 4 business models to your idea. I don't care if you think it doesn't fit, make it fit. So before we go on, is there anything up here that none of you have heard of? Okay, Airbnb. I'm going to go through them one at a time, so we'll go through that. So who's familiar with Airbnb? Has anybody actually used it? Okay, so behind, right? So what is their business model?
People rent out their homes for others. So if I live in Montreal, Canada, and I have a house and I'm not there, people can rent it for a couple of days.
Yep.
Instead of renting.
Okay. So buyer and sell. So Airbnb is matching buyers and sellers, right? That's one with I have a personal thing. I'm going to loan it to you for a period of time, and they use an exchange to do that. How does Airbnb make money?
I think they subsidize for people that use their service. They take a slice of what?
That's right.
Yeah.
They take what, Ian? What is it? 10%?
12% from the person renting, 3% from the homeowner.
Okay. So they're doing a transaction. They're taking a cut by matching buyers and sellers. That's what they do. All right. Google. I think we're all familiar with Google. What's Google's business model? No, you already answered.
Information.
No. Advertising. Google's business, technically Google is a multi-sided business model. But how they make money is advertising. Why is Google free with such a useful thing? Because every time you click on something interesting, they make a fraction of a penny. So they are an interface. They're giving away their product for free to the consumer, to the individual consumers. But companies pay an enormous amount of money to get advertising on Google, and people do all sorts of tricks to game and page rank. So Google's model is freemium. I'm going to give away something for free. I'm going to give away to the users something for free, where the businesses are the ones being charged. Okay? So that's 2 models, right? Uber. We all familiar with Uber? How many people use Uber? All right, so right there. What is Uber's business? No, don't look behind you. Oh, yeah. What's Uber's business model?
Driving
Yes.
service.
What's that?
Driving service.
Okay, a little deeper. What does it do? You pull out the app, you use it, what does it do?
Get you a ride.
Get you a ride. How does it get you a ride?
By ordering it.
Okay. So you're communicating with the drivers, right? Does anyone know how that's different than Airbnb? Does anyone want to take a crack at what their business model is? So you're right, the consumer, the end user, well, not going to say it that way. The consumer needs a ride, orders a ride, right? So what do they do that's different?
Is it because Uber's paying the driver?
It's close, yes. They're paying but I'm paying the driver, of course, through the transaction, right?
More of a service. Uber's more of a service versus you're getting an actual product. Like you being able to stay overnight in a hotel or in a rental is more of a product than.
Okay. True. Who is the service really for?
Oh, it's for the driver, right?
It's for the driver. So the value of Uber as a business model is it's not getting people rides, right? That's what it does. You're not wrong. That's what it does. But its value is matching drivers to riders. Think about a taxi. What do you do with a taxi? I need a ride. I hope somebody comes soon. That'd be awesome if a driver randomly came near me and didn't have anybody and liked what I looked like and thought that I might go somewhere interesting for long enough. Hello? I mean, you're literally like waving at random chance for somebody to pick you up and do something useful. Uber knows where the drivers are. And the drivers, through Uber, know where you are, and the drivers get to decide when they pick you up. So that their business model is actually not for you, it's for the people on the service. Yes, they make money on the transaction, but that's the neat thing that works. So effectively, you can look at Uber as more efficiently using the available resources. The object for Uber is if your car is available for an hour, that it's got somebody in it other than you for the hour. So you don't need to buy a car that spends most of its time driving in circles hoping to find you, that you have a piece of a car that always knows where somebody who's interested in you is, right? So that's actually their model. And then the last one is Amazon. So what is, I'm sure you've all used it, probably to buy textbooks, much cheaper than our store. Good for you. What is Amazon's business model?
Delivery.
What's that?
Delivery.
Delivery is one of them.
Online marketplace, so you can compare a bunch of different products.
Yep. Online marketplace.
I word it kind of like a cheaper than a Costco. It's just like it's a warehouse, really. It's an online warehouse.
I'd say supply chain.
Getting closer. Anybody else? So Amazon's got a couple, because obviously there's like Prime and all the stuff that they have, right? But Amazon's model is they want to sell you anything at all. If there's one of them in the world, they want to sell it to you. So they want to be the sales channel for the world. It doesn't matter whether you're going to sell 3 million of something or one of something. Amazon wants to sell you that. So they call it the long. Has anybody heard the concept of the long tail? So some of you may. You don't have to be scientists to remember this, but do you remember the bell curve? You all were tortured with this in high school, right? Okay, I was like, yes, I was tortured with that in high school. So the long tail is the fact that this part, which asymptotically approaches zero, sort of, there might be 1 here and 100,000 of something here. Amazon serves the long tail, right? Anybody can sell you a pair of sneakers, anybody can sell you an eraser, anybody can sell you a phone, honestly. But Amazon's going to have everything here so that you never have to look anywhere else again. So effectively, they are the world's marketplace. They're now getting into, and so if you may have, if you've ever thought about this, right, you might have said, why the hell is Amazon doing Amazon Prime, right? Not the one that you know now, but Amazon Prime at first was free shipping, free 2-day shipping for $79, because they wanted to make sure you didn't go anywhere else. So all right, great, I can ship all my stuff. Then you get in the habit of using Amazon Prime. Then what did Amazon Prime switch to? You're about to say it. You opened your mouth at least. What did they add on to Amazon Prime? What is it now?
They have everything, like from movies.
Movies, music. They are your content provider, whether you're buying something. So whatever you're consuming, Amazon is serving it to you. Whether it's, you know, a samba from Brazil or whatever the new, I'm not even going to embarrass myself by picking a pop singer. They want to give you that music whenever you want it. They want to give you that package whenever you want it. They want to ship you something whenever you want it. They're still serving you at your consumption, regardless of whether you want something once or you want something every minute of every day. So, and as they go on with things like AI and machine learning and Alexa, Alexa is not all about being nice to you. Alexa is about collecting the things you ask people verbally versus the things that you type into a computer. So they're learning the difference between what you say and what you type. Because people lie. They lie in what they type. They probably won't lie in what they ask somebody in the privacy of their house. little scary. If you were a little scared by that, you should be. Anyway, okay. So we've got Airbnb, matching buyers and sellers. We've got Google, freemium, free to the user, business pay. Uber, the matching of supply with consumption. Not consumption with supply, but supply with consumption. And Amazon, the everything in the everything kingdom. I want you to take those 4 business models and apply it to your idea and come up with at least 2 versions of your idea for each of those, ideally 3. So you should end in 10 minutes with 12 versions of this idea. I don't care if you think it doesn't work, make something up, all right? So you got about 10 minutes. All right, stop. So how many of you were able to get to 12? Yes. You got 12. How about in the back? How'd you get? How many did you guys get? 8? All right, what do we have here?
We have 5.
5, all right. I want you and I want a different voice from each group, so I want to hear somebody new talking. Let's start in the back. Give me so remind everybody what the idea was that you were working on, and I want you to give me, and guess what? Whoever's going to talk, whose voice I haven't heard before in participating, is going to give their favorite version of each of these 4. So who's going? This should not be the hardest thing to do. Somebody talk. Open your mouth.
Everybody talk. You haven't talked. You haven't talked. So.
All right, in the beanie. It's you.
So we were working on Smart Wheel, which is just sensors around a wheel that tracks your driving habits. And so for our business model for Google, we were deciding to kind of go on the same route of them as advertisement. So using data and storing that data and being able to give it to marketers and stuff like that, of course, with the user's permission.
Okay, that's not like Google.
Well,
Google doesn't get the user's permission very
Google
frequently.
Doesn't care, but we'll be good.
Okay, what's next?
Amazon, just selling as a massive retailer.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you. So, and this again, just you went first, so I get to pick on you. It's not about sales; it's about the willingness to do everything for everybody, right? So I get the sales piece. That's the easy part. I'm saying. So and you could keep going, but just when I'm talking about applying the business model, it's saying, how does that distracted driving product serve all of humanity? Like, can it serve everybody? Do you want to create a bunch of different products? Do you want to create one product? That kind of thing. So just move on to the next one. It's fine.
Okay. So for Uber, we just said since it was connecting the driver with the people who need rides, we'd be thinking that we'd connect the car companies with the people who are buying cars.
Okay.
So
do they not have car dealerships?
Huh?
Do they not have car dealerships to connect people who need cars with the cars?
No, it'd just be like at the dealership, you could sell them a sleeve.
Okay.
Like as a base part of the model of the car.
Okay.
And for Airbnb, we suggested reselling and or renting.
Okay. So of those, was there any idea that came out by doing this that was surprising of all the things? Like you went, oh.
Still on me?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Maybe the data. Yeah, probably stealing people's data. I mean, I guess you can't really do much with oh, this person drives with one hand, but
Who would want to know that?
Yeah, sure, exactly.
Yeah. Do you think they want to buy it from you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think you should sell it to them?
For a high price.
Oh, right. So right away, that's kind of right. So there may be a market for that, but is that the right thing to do?
No.
To sell the insurance companies all the access to how you drive
They have enough
all the time. What would they do with that? Again, there's no, this is a judgment-free time. You went like this, like they throw you out. Or maybe they give you a
reward.
Yeah, the answer to that always depends on how good of a driver you think you are. You're like, nope, they'd throw me out, and then like, because I fall asleep. So, all right, good. All right, here, let's roll down. So remind everybody what the idea is. Remind, so what was the concept? What was the idea you started with? And then let's apply those 4 things. And new voice.
All right, so our idea was to get school from 4 years down to 3.
Okay.
So we want to make school kind of active, and this will reduce the cost by a lot.
To be clear, you want to then also graduate.
Yes.
Because you can compact school into 3 weeks and still get out.
Yeah.
You just can't get it.
Yeah.
Got
That's
it.
true.
Okay.
Yes. So you want to graduate after 3 years, and we want to make that a broad standard that we can accomplish.
Yep.
What's the next thing you want to know?
Yeah.
So we have that. And then, so for these, Airbnb, we're trying to think of something that could help. We think that people living in local areas could use a model like that, like the supply and demand of housing. We could link.
How does that help you get? This is where I'm gonna start digging a little bit. So how does that help you get through school in 3 years?
So it's a money thing. Basically, if you can live with someone that's on campus, kind of using tech, like it's sort of like an Airbnb type thing. You can live with someone a lot more minimally than living on the campus. That will help you get through in 3 years. Versus.
So it's less. Your lodging is less expensive, therefore you. Okay.
Yes. So that would be. It's part of what we could come up with for that model.
Okay. Now I'm going to start. This is where I'm going to introduce this very quickly. The concept of yes and versus no but. All right. When you're in these whatever kind of environment and you're trying to give feedback to somebody, I broke this rule like 1,000 times, mostly on purpose. When you're giving feedback, is anyone here in theater? No? I'm the only one? No. So this is a great exercise that you do in theater where it's about building on ideas. So these 2 phrases, and I'm going to get to what you said in a second. These 2 phrases mean the same thing, sort of. It's, I hear you, and I'm going to suggest something different. The difference between how you approach these is so you had that idea about saving stuff, and I was gonna jump in, which is why I stopped and went here, is I could say, no, but what you could do is this. Or I can say, yes, and have you thought of this? One of them is validating the person's opinion and moving on top of it. The other one, whether you realize it or not, is kind of devaluing their opinion and trying to move it in your particular direction. So again, it's about the group dynamics. So I wanted to get that. I knew it would come up somewhere, so I stopped. Now I'm back in. Yes, and what about pairing them with people who, faculty members or graduate students or TAs who could actually help them with the content so that they could get through school faster and do better, right? Yeah. But if I said, no, but what if you did that? It's just a different, because they're not mutually exclusive concepts. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so that's for Airbnb. Uber, we were thinking of something where you could very quickly on demand, sort of through like a phone app or something like that, you could get a tutor quickly. It wouldn't have to be a long process. It could just be, hey, here's someone who majored in this, they can help me.
Yep.
Tonight I have an exam tomorrow, let's get someone here quick. App, they make $10, you're happy. Something like that. It
Good
would
idea.
Be easy, it would be cheap, it could help you get through things quickly, all this paperwork.
All right.
And also ride sharing for off-campus students. If you live off-campus and there's a guy next to you that drives onto campus from Newmarket every day.
If you take the riding piece literally, yes.
If you take the riding piece literally, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And then what is that what you didn't get to?
Yeah, sort of, like, a lot of people drive and, they have 3 extra seats in their car, fill up the seats with people, helps everyone out, helps you get through more efficiently, quicker.
Did you do one for Amazon, or is that where you got stuck?
For Amazon, we were just thinking of something like if there was some mass place for textbooks, and if somehow the textbooks were built in with like the tuition, if you made like a 3-year bulk purchase, and I got a discount on something like that.
That's interesting.
It all came from the same place.
Okay. All right. Reminder: big idea, where you started, and then apply.
We have meditator, prayer, and then do you want us? I can go through all 12 if you want, but they're
Nope, just give me one of each. Like pick one in each category.
For Airbnb, we said that there's an overhead company that monitors the relation between people that need help, and then the people that like take a cut from it.
Mm-hmm.
And then for Uber, you basically type in what kind of like, whether it's anxiety, depression, if you want to focus more, you type in what you want to fix, and then it'll connect you with someone that can help you with that.
Okay.
For Google, it's free meditation prayer, but the company pays for it, so that'll increase productivity in the workplace.
Okay.
And then for Amazon, you basically have supplies for meditation, such as gongs, incense.
Okay, you're taking the sales piece of that literally. Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. So, what's interesting about this, right? So you didn't know where you started. You didn't know what you were working on. You didn't work on your own ideas. I dragged you. We pulled the taffy a little bit. And in all honesty, right? And this is what happens, right? There was, and I didn't see all 12 ideas. I didn't ask you. I gave you, I'm intentionally pulling a needle out of the haystack. There was actually one really good idea. I mean, I'm not saying all the ideas weren't good, but that idea about tutors on demand, that's a killer idea, right? I don't know who came up with it, extra piece of pizza for you, right? That's a good idea. Now, that's something that you could kind of work on and play with. That's not the point of today. The point of today was you entered randomly. You probably halfway through were like, when do I get out? I'm tired of listening to that guy talk. And then you get down to the sort of brass tacks, and you find out you can actually pull out some really pretty interesting ideas from a set of kind of random inputs. When you do this ideation process, the objective is not, we're just sort of, I went through all this stuff. And we're not going to do the 10 minutes, but might do a couple minutes. And if you've got to split, you can split. I know you had time constraints and stuff like that. The whole point is really to free yourself to do the inquiry. So to not say, I don't know about that, or that seems silly, but to just regurgitate all that stuff out on a piece of paper and start to sift through. What I hope you've started to get at is there is kind of a process, right? Inspiration is not often random. It's just one person's experience over and over and over again until they have enough experience to say, wait a minute, oh, here's the idea. What they've really done is had an experience and then had 100 other experiences that happen to be the right set of experiences to give them inspiration. But you can actually force that process a little bit. So the things that I've walked you through are a structure for thinking about how to solve problems. Now, what we would do here, and I'm just going to throw this up here just because it's late and I have children, is what the next thing we would do is you would take those 12 ideas and you would again collapse them into 3. And you would again collapse them into 1. And so let's just use the one idea about the real-time matching of tutors and needs, right? Imagine if you were, are there any grad students in here? No? All right. So imagine if you were a grad student who, is kind of being paid to be here, but not a lot. And you were in sociology, and you knew that there was a 400-level sociology exam, and knew you could charge $50 an hour to tutor somebody. You would totally do that if you had time, right? So it's kind of an interesting concept. So I'm going to stick with that for a second. So all we did today was say, what's out there in the world? What are the problems that are worth solving? We started with, was it distracted driving, praying and meditation, and what was your first big general thing? I forget, the big topic. Student debt, right. And then we kind of we squeezed it down into, we started at student debt, but you kind of moved over to a way of solving student debt by accelerating the graduation path of one population, and then possibly rewarding financially another population in the same school. That's why that's cool, because you're actually benefiting 2 populations. You didn't know it, but you're benefiting 2 populations with that idea. So all you've done to this point is figure out, is this problem worth solving? And then who the solution would be. So I sort of cheated here, and I said, so you got 2, your customer is both the undergraduate and the graduate, kind of keeping it simple. So the next step would be to actually talk to those people What most people do, and again, I mean Fortune 100 companies down to undergraduates, is you'd say, that's a great idea, I'm going to build that app. Or I'm going to build that thing because that's really cool and I love it. It's the wrong thing to do. Never do that because you've wasted money. The story that I tell frequently is my first gig, not my first gig. Before I was here, I ran a biotech company in North Carolina. It was built on industry-leading science. We had 3 of the international experts in the field of drug transport on our scientific advisory board. Our VP of R&D was from GlaxoSmithKline. We knew everything about this, and we raised $3.2 million to develop this assay to sell to pharmaceutical companies to study the safety of their drugs. So to your question, you started off with the like, don't use animals. Well, we use some, but we use a lot less. Right? We use 1 animal to do 45 experiments instead of 45 animals to do 45 experiments. You can judge me, it's okay. But we built this thing, it was industry-leading science, it was awesome, and then we went out into the marketplace, nobody cared. Nobody cared. We actually had a $500,000 research contract with Pfizer to develop the thing. We built it, we said, great, you ready to buy it? They went, no. Like, how did you spend? They were on our scientific advisory board. They spent $500,000. We built exactly what they told us to build, and they didn't want to buy it. You know why? We didn't ask them what they wanted. We just asked them, do you like what we're doing? Sure. Is this good? Yeah, really interesting. No, we never asked them, would you use it? When we asked them, would you use it? They said, no. It took another couple months to say, well, why won't you use this? And the interesting thing is they told us exactly why they wouldn't use it. They said, oh, it needs to be in a 24-well plate, and it needs to be at this price point, and we need to have it delivered on this schedule, and all this kind of information when 2 years and $3.5 million later, we decided to ask the only question that mattered, which was, what do you want? So when you get to this point, you don't go off and build the app. You then go to, by example, you interview 50 undergraduate students about their needs to, I'm just going to stick with the tutoring piece, not the housing piece, right? You talk to 50 undergraduate students and say, have you ever needed to study at the last minute? Have you ever needed help with an exam? You never talk about your solution. That's the hard part. You talk about the problem, and you keep talking about the problem. You then talk to 50 graduate students. Have you ever considered helping somebody? Have you ever been interested in tutoring? Why don't you do that? You don't say, would you like to work on our app and do this thing? You ask them questions about their side of the problem. When you ask usually greater than 20 people, you will start to hear commonalities. And then you try to solve those problems a little more specifically. So the idea is that until you've talked to, in my view, at least 100 end users of what you want, you shouldn't start building a damn thing. And I don't care what it is, building widgets, building technology, building a service. You shouldn't build anything until you talk to at least 100 people who theoretically want to use your stuff. You make sure you talk to people of all ages, genders, nationalities, all socioeconomic levels, all across the board, because that'll give you sort of the color commentary that you need. I'll leave you this one last example, and then we can go. So I had, in this Tech 750 class I taught, I had a student engineer who created this really cool software to build custom furniture. Now, the problem that he had was he was living in it's New Hampshire, so these like 130-year-old houses that have weird walls and bulges and stuff, and doesn't have a lot of room, probably sharing the space with 6 other people, and he needed a bookshelf. So unlike the rest of society, engineers say, well, I'll just build a piece of software that will help me design this bookshelf for this weird shaped corner, right? It's a joke, you're allowed to laugh. So he builds this software, and he comes into class, he said he'd already built it, and he wanted to see if there was a market for it. Great, go out and talk to some folks. What do you think that somebody would pay for this? We didn't even get to that point today. What do you think would pay for it? And he said, $100. I think people pay $100 for each piece of furniture that I build, right? So he's thinking bookshelves. Does that sound right to you, like $100 for a bookshelf for your room? You're shaking your head like, maybe a little too much or not enough? Or?
I think slightly too much, maybe like
okay.
$60.
Perfect, okay. So he came back, he went out, he interviewed everybody he knew, and he came back and said, yep, $100, I'm all set. said, great. Who'd you talk to? All my friends, and I went off to the quad, and I talked to a bunch of people. I said, yeah, did you talk to anybody over 21? No. Okay. Why don't you talk to people over 21? Well, I didn't know anybody over 21. Like, didn't ask me. I'm only slightly older than 21. And I said, all right, well, go out and talk to people over 21 who might want to have furniture built for themselves. And who are in a different, both a different age group, but also different earning potential. So why don't you talk to, find people who earn a little more money and see what they think. I said, where do you find those people? Somebody said, Whole Foods. I'm like, great, go to Whole Foods and go talk to people who are older and have disposable income, right? So he did. He went to Manchester, wherever it is, Bedford. Went to the Whole Foods at Bedford and interviewed 30 people in front of the Whole Foods at Bedford about what they would pay for a custom piece of furniture. Who wants to guess how much they would pay? $200. It's like Price is Right. I'll start yodeling and walking up, right? Give me just throw out, what do you think the maximum amount of money somebody said they would spend? 1,000?
30 bucks.
30 bucks? Just guess. 500. The average was $3,200.
No.
Yep. You know why? Custom furniture is flippin' expensive. He could make shaker furniture. He could make Art Nouveau, Art Deco based furniture. He could make anything. Now you pay, when you're buying fancy furniture for a nice house, you might spend that, maybe not on a bookshelf, but he didn't say just bookshelf. He just said furniture. And he found the average price somebody was willing to pay was $3,200. Which business do you think he went after? The student bookshelf business? Or no. Right, so that's the point, is if you stay with who you know, you will get only the answer that you already started with. Because you're gonna live in your own world and you're gonna solve the problem that you have, but you're not gonna solve anybody else's problem. You need to intentionally go out into different places with different people who have nothing in common with you and be able to ask them the same amount of questions, and you'll be shocked at what you find. So, again, if you take that idea and you go through all the grad students and all the undergraduates, but then you might shift up and you might ask the grad students the undergraduate question and the postdocs the graduate question, and you might go up and ask the faculty the graduate students question and the postdocs the undergraduate question, and you might find that you can match people who are more educated with people who need to be educated on a fundamentally different level. So that's why. This isn't just random, this isn't just a set of stuff, but this is the way that you can get better answers to the question. So if you were thinking about where you would go next, you would develop 10 questions that you think might answer whether the solution is able to address the problem that you have. That's where we'll stop, because we could do lots and lots on each of the pieces, but what I hope you got out of it was that kind of the stretching of your mind, and you're pulling out a different approach to get different ideas out of the same general conceit. That's it.